So, you want to get better at GeoGuessr, but in a game where the objective is like the entire world, getting better depends purely on how far you're willing to go. So I spent the last week creating this GeoGuessr iceberg and descending into madness, pushing myself to the limits of perfecting this craft. From starting out being absolutely terrible at the game to literally building my own extensions to better memorize telephone poles in Tunisia, I was absolutely determined to get better and move up a tier in ranking. By the way, my name is Beegee and I'm learning how to build video games. Since I'm at the very start of my journey, I'm going back and playing all the games I loved when I was younger to see what made them so special and why communities rally around them. GeoGuessr has exploded in popularity since I first started playing it. Now it has in-person World Series events. So to truly understand the cult-like following that GeoGuessr has accumulated, I'm going in very deep. I started out playing duels because I figured it was the best and fastest way to assess where you really are skill-wise. And I lost 2 games and won 2 games at Silver 3, so yeah, I guess that's a pretty accurate depiction of my skill level to start with. The next tier up is just me playing solo mode for hours and hours on end. I spent an hour of my life just crawling through maps trying to find road 433 in the Japanese countryside, and when I finally did find it, it was the longest fucking road ever, so I had no idea how I was gonna find my original starting point. I was actually about to like give up on GeoGuessr, give up on video games in general, when I finally found a crossroads of 433 and 229, and oh my god, I was overjoyed. It also took me another 20 full minutes just to backtrack through the road and find the town I originally started in, and then I low-key fucked up and I guessed 4 yards away from getting a perfect score, but at that point, I was just so happy I actually found the town I started in, I didn't really mind that much. Just look at my face, I was so happy. So this turned out to be my favorite game mode so far, and I also found some quirky stuff along the way.
Did he bring the chair and the umbrella? Wait, he's playing saxophone. That's fascinating.
So yeah, I definitely remembered why people love GeoGuessr for more than just the game mechanics itself. Like, it actually intrigued me a lot about Japan, just going through the countryside, which, you know, I never would have seen otherwise. And now I kind of want to travel there, so, you know, even in a small way, worldview expanded. The next tier is a community I found called Plonket. It's basically a Discord server where people collect GeoGuessr metadata, and what metadata is labeled pictures of distinguishing features for certain regions in the world. So like telephone poles and bollards and roads, sometimes landscapes. But Plonket isn't just a library of data, it's also a very, very active Discord community, which is super cool to see. There's daily challenges, a lot of discussions going on, so if you're looking to meet other people who want to get better at GeoGuessr, this is definitely the best place for that. Like, I found this guy whose tag is just Arizona is the greatest, and he was just talking about some walls in Arizona. The next tier is kind of an extension of Plonket. It's an open source project called Learnable Meta. This project built maps in GeoGuessr using the data from Plonket so that you can see real examples of that data in the game. This was definitely the most helpful way to get better at GeoGuessr for me, and I actually liked this project so much I was like, I want to contribute to the open source project, you know, because I'm a developer. But I couldn't get database access right away as a new contributor, so I was like, okay, what's an easy win I can contribute to this project to, you know, build some trust with this community? So I decided I was going to spruce up the landing page a little, you know, because it seemed like they were more focused on the back end, more focused on the data, and I was like, yeah, let me add some branding, some interaction, some aesthetic. And I spent like 3 or maybe even 4 hours rebuilding the landing page, but when I sent a demo in suggestions, they low-key rejected it right away. So yeah, I guess I just went a little too crazy with like the spinning globe and all that shit. So even though this tier was rejection therapy for me, it was definitely the most helpful when it comes to getting better at GeoGuessr. Just playing learnable meta maps for 5 to 6 hours, I feel like my skill level really, really grew. So yeah, even though they rejected me, highly recommend. At this point though, I was in so deep, even learnable meta wasn't like enough for me. Because even though it's great, you can only use the extension on certain maps that they've created and have manually labeled the data on. And obviously the world is very large, so there are regions and certain things you'll see that Plonket just doesn't cover. And I had been thinking, I wish there was a game review mechanic for GeoGuessr like you get on chess.com. So I decided to build an extension that used AI to screenshot your game while you're playing it and label the metadata that you see so that you can go back and review it later. And this was pretty cool, but low-key, it wasn't always accurate with screenshotting metadata I actually needed to review. On top of that, it turns out the GPT Vision OS API is extremely expensive, so a 5-minute game costs a full $1.50. So if you play like 100 games a month, you're literally gonna have to pay $150 for this extension. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm just not trying to drop $150 a month. So I decided to make it a little more manual, and I could just drop screenshots that I took in game of metadata I wanted to go back and review. And even though, okay, that's not that different from just like screenshotting things and putting it in a Google Doc and reviewing it later, but the flashcards really helped me. I personally just learned really well that way. So yeah, this is how I ended up memorizing telephone poles in Tunisia. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of proud of myself because this extension actually was the most helpful for me in getting better at GeoGuessr. But at this point, I was in way too deep. I was kind of worried if I didn't crawl out of this GeoGuessr rabbit hole now, I was never gonna build my own game and also like lose my fucking job. So it was time to wrap things up and go back to duels to see if all of the work paid off and I could actually rise a tier. Yay, Silver 2! Yeah. But overall, this experience was really fulfilling to just go back and get super into a game I loved so much when I was younger. And as a game developer, it's super motivating that maybe one day I'll be able to build a game that has a community as active and vibrant and creative and devoted like the GeoGuessr one. And low-key, I definitely want to get to Silver 1, so I will still be playing GeoGuessr. And if you're curious to try the extension, I did open source it, so the GitHub is linked in the description. Okay, bye!